You know what the scary thing is? I always thought the business of the New World Order and the Freemasons was something that someone dreamed up of. But we know Simpson would. You know, was it Simpson Wood, Karen? Yeah. And I wrote about that in the book about Simpson Wood, and no matter how much you want to know, that's where they knew all the dangers of the vaccines, and they just kept them hidden.
That's all that information. Well, I don't know if you want to search it on the web, but if you put Simpson Wood in, you'll find it. Or if, oh, now I'm going to totally blank on her name. This Spark, Sacred Spark, which is the book about the Reverend, and I'm totally blanking on her name. Maybe one of you know it. And she is an autistic child who she was able to recover, but she goes back and she puts the whole history of this meeting that happened in Simpson Wood, which she was a Methodist. She is a Methodist minister, and Simpson Wood was a Methodist retreat, I think, where this was held. And so she was just livid about it, and she wrote so beautifully and just so eloquently about this meeting and the effects that have come down on so many children as a result of the decisions that were made at that meeting.
You know, I never, we've been blessed, my wife and I, having known Dr. Mendelson almost 40 years ago. And so it's had a profound effect on my 6 children and my 10 grandchildren. And that's one of the reasons I feel obligated, I don't know the right word here, to really spread as much of the information. I'm a pretty good messenger, I can carry the message from one person to the other, especially in a message as important as this. And, we have over 35,000 children, and many people know this in our practice. I don't know the exact number because, in an open practice, people come, people go, so you have a chart, but they may not be with you anymore. But we've been in practice. I've been in practice for 37 years. Dr. Schattauer, Dr. Zumhagen have been with me, and Dr. Rosie for more than 20 years. And we have virtually not a single case of autism. When I say virtually not a single case, I don't know of a case. There may be some that we don't have. That doesn't exist other places. We also have virtually no asthma, virtually no diabetes, virtually no allergies. And these are phenomenal findings, not because I think of the awesomeness of my partners, which I think they are, but I think because we have a virtually vaccine-free practice. To start right now, and what they're talking about doing here is not one injection. They're talking about 3 injections. I mean, this is a catch-up schedule. And when people talk about catch-up schedules, I say, well, why don't we put some mustard and relish on it also? But the catch-up schedule here is going to give 3 flu vaccines. How frightening is this? How absolutely frightening, is something like this?
In the answering, I don't think you got to actually answer the things that we can do. What can we do to either someone has gotten the vaccine or just to prepare ourselves to stay healthy in this coming fall and winter season?
Let's go back to the slide there, on the vitamin D. One of the studies that I had in one of my newsletters, and I'll reprint it again, I'll put it online, about some of the evidence that vitamin D played a role in 1918. They always talk about the Spanish flu of 1918 as killing millions and millions of people, but then they analyzed the subgroups, and they found that the Marines had the lowest death rate from any of the people in the military. Remember, we're at war in 1918, and some of the people have hypothesized, because they obviously had sun, so they got the vitamin D. And on the ships, there's limes and oranges, and that's why the sailors are called limeys, because they had B deficiency and C deficiency, and so they realized this, and so here we are now with the Marines and the sailors having the lowest mortality. The highest mortality was in the Army that were in the trenches. And what are they missing? They're missing vitamin D, vitamin C, and vitamin B. I don't want anyone to think that vitamin D, vitamin C, and vitamin B is the answer. I mean, it may be. I pray it is. But this year, we had the lowest amount of colds or flu in our practice than ever. And we don't have that much to start with. But we have almost all of our practice. When we looked at the vitamin D levels in our practice 2 years ago, the average was about 22 or 23. I was blown away how low it was. Now the average, I'm guessing again because we ran 100 patients then and 100 patients about 6 months ago. It's running now in the high 40s, low 50s. I believe people should have, all of us should get, especially before the winter starts, before the fall starts, get your blood levels up to at least greater than 50 to 80. Get a vitamin D test. It's inexpensive. That's the 25-hydroxy D test. You're going to be shocked how low it is, as was the Annals of Internal Medicine and the Journal of Pediatrics. And here is some of my recommendations. Adults and children over 100 pounds should be taking about 10,000 a day. I'm sorry. They should be taking 5,000 a day. It's no one really knows the answer. I'll give you the answer. Make it real simple. You want to take enough vitamin D. You want to be enough in the sun to get your blood level over 50 to 80. And most people are so low that it's going to take at least 10,000 for adults and 5,000 for children. And I'll reprint this again. So, and this is from Dr. John Cannell, who's one of the gurus in vitamin D. At the first sign of a cold or a flu, 1,000 IU per pound daily for 7 days. 50 pounds, you can take 50,000. 100, you can take 100,000. 200, you can take 200,000 for 7 days, And, of course, chicken soup. This is for someone who now comes down with cold and flu symptoms. I read something that was incredible. The test for swine flu, the spot test they do, is ineffective. It works less than 50% of the time. Well, you know what 50% means? That's guessing. I mean, if you guessed, you would be just as well off. You want to hear their answer, Care? Give the Tamiflu no matter what. So my recommendation, if you decide to take Tamiflu, don't bother wasting your money on the swine flu test.
Okay, and this is someone's mentioned another site that you like, Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. In addition to vitamin D, he recommends cilantro, vitamin C, blue-green algae, and chlorella. Use this before and after the vaccines. You said that the vitamin K shot isn't mandatory. What about the stuff they put in the eyes, the ointment?
Yeah, the ointment is mandatory. That's state law, and even worse, it's mandated among the birth attendant. So it's the doctor or the midwife is the one who's obligated to do it, or assign it to one of the nurses. I've you can email me for some suggestions how to do it that it's safe. And someone asked a question I'm seeing there. I got so many wonderful questions, and that was what form of vitamin D? Extremely important. Thank you. D3. There are 5 different forms of vitamin D. The majority of doctors give D2. That's a pharmaceutical. D3 is natural vitamin D. It's made, but many of the companies that make it, include ours, from the extract of the lanolin from sheep's wool. And it was so fascinating when you and I started looking into this. Where does it come in the sheep's wool? Furry animals can't absorb vitamin D from the sun. And so what happens is it's made in their fur, and as they lick themselves, that's how they get the vitamin D.
Okay. We have questions about how much vitamin D an infant should have. We've got that on the chart that's up here now. But what about a mom who's nursing? And if she's taking about 6,000 units a day, do you think the baby would get enough?
No, I think it's not enough. I mean, 6,000 is minimum, and I recommend 6,000 to 10,000. And this is the work of Dr. Hollis. I can't think of Frank. Is Frank Hollis? I met him in California. I've been going to the vitamin D meetings there the last couple of years. And he starts off his lecture by saying, breast milk is deficient in vitamin D. And oh my God, I was about to pounce on him. How could God have made such mistakes? And then he said, that's because pregnant women don't get enough sun. and if they and they not only not get enough sun, but they also don't have enough vitamin D. I mean, if you get enough sun, and he went through this analogy. Can you imagine the cave mother? Would she be taking the baby out in the sun so it could be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger? No, the baby would be in the cave. The mother would go forage for food, but while she's foraging for food, she would be in the sun and get enough vitamin D. He's been doing the work, and his papers are being published, which show if a mother takes between 6 and 10,000, preferably in the higher range, the breast milk will be loaded with vitamin D. So American Academy of Pharmaceuticals, they like to call themselves the American Academy of Pediatrics, stop passing out that unscientific knowledge that breastfed babies need vitamin D. Breastfed babies need vitamin D from the breast milk from their mothers. Make sure the mothers get enough. If they're not in the sun enough, they should take some extra supplementation with vitamin D too.
Okay, and we have people who want to know where they can get a vitamin D test. Some places it's several $100s in the locations that they are.
Well, that's under Obamacare. It'll be $300. You won't be able to get it. That's right. They've already talked about not doing it routinely. It won't be a covered expense. Karen put up two websites. They're both run about $30 to $50. Both of them are research places. When I say research places, they really just collect all the data on vitamin D. Many places online. There's ZRT Labs, and they have a spot test, which means it's just a couple of drops of blood put on a filter paper sent to them, and the tests run anywhere from $30 to $90. But those two sites are quite good. Very valuable, very, very valuable.
Okay, this question's about Tamiflu. What's your opinion about Tamiflu? There seems to be problems with it. Our attendee says that she's heard that 7 people in Japan committed suicide after taking it, and children have had nightmares after taking it. And I remember on Dr. Tenpenny's, when she did the webinar, she said stay away from it. So
yeah, look, Dr. Sherry could be one of the best researchers I've ever met. And if Dr. Sherry tells me to stay away from it, I will stay away from it. I can tell you, in my 37 years practicing medicine, I haven't given one person Tamiflu ever. I don't intend to start right now, and so I go to her website. That's drtenpenny.com, and we'll put up again the website so everyone can have it. Kira, if you type in the websites, will it just go right to their computers? Oh, you did? Oh, good. Wonderful, And someone also mentioned there that it's $65 at the vitamindcouncil.org. I think it's even a little bit less no, go to their websites. I mean, it's, incredibly great people. At the Vitamin D Council is Dr. John Cannell, and Grassroots Health is no, it wasn't Michael Carol Baggerly. No, it wasn't Michael Hollick who's done the work. It's Hollis. I know Michael Hollick also, but he's done other work. I mean, he's a skinny guy who goes out in the sun to show that the sun won't kill you.
Can you address why Tamiflu is such a bad idea?
Well, because it's an antiviral. And all these antivirals have problems. And I remember, go back and listen to the webinar. It's archived. I think it's on our front page, with Dr. Sherry Tenpenny. And I think she said that in young people, Tamiflu it wasn't the side effects that she was worried about, which are potentially bad. She felt that the people had a higher probability of developing the cytokine storm. It had I don't remember the exact specifics, what she said. See, it was good enough for me. She said, don't take it.
Let's see.
Which one you want?
This one? You like that one? Okay. As a lawyer, and you are a lawyer now too, could you comment on the mandatory nature of the vaccine in regard to whether this violates the 9th and 10th Amendments pertaining to state sovereignty?
Do we have a constitution in this country? We just elected a woman who never read the Constitution. She believes that the role of the Supreme Court or a judge is to make up the law. Of course it violates it, you know, but what they're going to do is going to bypass the Constitution and impose martial law if they're going to do that, you know. And that's why, let's go back to Yoda. I want to see Yoda there on the screen. We need some a superhero, you know, to help us, you know, and that's what's kind of neat.